Starting in Creo Parametric 12.4.2, cable harnesses are now assemblies and not parts. If you have a legacy model that contains a cable harness part, you can convert it to a cable harness assembly. Let's take a look at an example. Here I am in an assembly model. This is an assembly that I used in a previous video where I demonstrated the entire cable harness design process. Here I have my top level assembly, then I have a bunch of different standard components, and then I created another level of a design assembly. It has a skeleton model with some different references for placing the different connectors, and then here is the harness part. You will also notice that we have a bunch of spools which were previously stored as assembly level features. I want to convert this. So let's go to the Applications tab and then choose Cabling. And here we get the warning about the updated cabling application. I'm going to click No because I don't want to go into the help at this time. If I go down to my model tree, I can locate that harness part. If I right click on it, I can choose from the menu to convert to assembly. But if I click on convert to assembly, I'm going to get a warning that I need to ensure that the the harness's parent assembly is active before attempting conversion. Let me do that. I will click the OK button to close that dialog box. Let me scroll a little bit up in the tree. Here is the assembly that contains the harness part. I will right click on it, and then from the mini toolbar, I can choose the activate command. Now with the parent assembly active, let me scroll back down to the harness part. I will right click on it, and here we have the convert to assembly command. I will click on it, and now it opens up a new dialog box. It opens up the harness conversion to assembly dialog box, and it's got some information up at the top and a bunch of columns of information for different entities that are going to be created in my model. Here we have the harness assembly that will be created. You'll notice that it has the same name as the previous harness part. Then it is going to create another assembly for the cabling data. And then we have our different spools, which previously were assembly level features. Now they are going to be created as as part files. They're going to be essentially bulk items. And you'll notice this works for wire spools, it works for sheath spools, it'll work for cable spools, it'll work for all your previous different kinds of spools. And so I'm happy with this. Let me click the OK button, and we can see the conversion progress. We are getting a warning. It tells us that we are currently in conversion review mode. Conversion has been completed but not yet applied. You can review and fix any errors in the conversion, and then you can click OK or cancel. You'll notice that here are the OK and cancel buttons. And so at this point, you could take a look inside of your tree. Here we have our cable harness assembly. We still do have those spools as assembly level features, but if I expand my harness assembly, here we have that new cabling data assembly that is created. There's nothing in it. And we have our different cabling locations like we had before in the harness part and the individual wires. But if I go back up, here we can see our different bulk item parts for our cable spools. And so I'm happy with what was converted. Let me hit the green check mark in order to complete out of this. And in that way, I have converted this to a harness assembly. And be aware with the new harness assemblies, they can be opened up in their own separate windows. Let me right click on it and then choose open from the mini toolbar. Now you can see my cable harness with the different parts in here as well. Let me hop back over to the previous window. Let me click no out of the warning again. And I'm going to go to the parent assembly. Let me go up here. Let me open up that parent assembly in its own separate window. And so what I might do at this point is start rearranging so that all this different information that was previously in the parent assembly is in the cable harness assembly itself. For example, I might try to move the skeleton in there and the different connectors. And so that is one approach that you might want to take in the future. So there you have it. That is an example of converting a legacy cable harness part into the new cable harness assembly.